can only imagine, having an all-star game in my backyard, where I grew up, so I think this is going to be an unbelievable, moment for AD and his family. So I'm looking forward to being there with him, seeing him, being in his hometown and being part of the Lakers. I think that's pretty amazing.
No-brainer to pick him?
Yeah, there's a brainer. I don't have to pick him. I don't even like him.
Konnichiwa, listeners. This is the Ball Don't Lie podcast here on Penn State Sports Night. I am Hunter Pitcoff, joined alongside the great Ryan Lam. How you doing, Ryan?
What's good? I'm doing fine, yeah.
Yep, literally Thursday night. It was going to be a solo act today on Friday, but Ryan came through, so it won't just be me talking to myself and arguing with myself for the whole pod. So good for the listeners there. So, obviously, it's All-Star season. The All-Star game starters were announced on Thursday, being yesterday. In the East, you had Trae Young, Kemba Walker, Pascal Siakam, Joel Embiid, and, of course, Giannis. And then the West, we had Luka, James Harden, LeBron, AD, and Kawhi. Ryan, just want to hear kind of your thoughts. Do you agree with it?
I think, in general, I agree with it. The Eastern backcourt, there could be a little bit of movement. They've actually, a lot of players voted Kemba in, and also coaches instead of Kyrie, which makes sense because Kyrie has been playing sporadically, and Kemba has been leading this a Celtics team that some people were kind of iffy on to a pretty good level. Definitely, I would say contending. But then Trae Young, he has the flash, he has the scoring. His team is just really bad.
Yeah, the worst in the league.
Yeah, so that was the only kind of pause. Trae Young, I feel like he has the quality to be an all-star, and that's fine by me. The West, I don't think we even really have to touch on the West because who else?
I think there's two blemishes that maybe you could argue in the East. Trae Young being one of them. But I just felt who else would you put in over him, though? I really don't know. Trae Young has been so good this season. I don't really blame him for the Hawks being bad. I blame probably everybody else. Because Trae Young's numbers are literally, I think he's top 5 in points and assists in the league.
He's 29 and 11?
Yeah, he's literally top 5 in points and assists right now in basketball. You have to be a starter at that point. And I just love them. I don't know if you saw a video, Ryan, but Trae Young with his parents and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought that was a really cool moment, very real moment. Love seeing that. And then Pascal Siakam, I thought Jimmy Butler was going to get in over him because Pascal's missed some games, but, Pascal Siakam, in general, I thought he's going to be an all-star either way. So, good for him to get in.
Did you see the news that some players did not vote for Jimmy Butler because he's annoying?
Man, they hate him, man. Look, Jimmy Butler's had a terrific season, and he's completely shifted the entire culture of Miami, and Pascal and his do right. I talk about him on every podcast we have because I've been saying that Pascal Siakam was going to be an all-star before the season even started. I literally put all bets on the table on that, and he was. So, yeah. I'll take that. But anyways, that are the starters. Not too much debate, especially in the West. 2 second-year players, which is pretty interesting. I don't know if that's really happened, at least 2 starters in their second years. But we're going to talk about a guy now who's probably going to make an all-star game at some point, Zion Williamson. It was looking like first 3 quarters, Mark Jackson was poking fun at Zion's weight. They were talking about how he's slow, out of shape. He's going to be a bust. And then 3 minutes and 30 seconds prove that Zion Williamson is a special player.
The thing is that, I wrote down here, I'm not sure if I'm overdoing this. I think he's been showing that he has very good ball sense, and also he has the fundamentals than a lot of those type of big rookies coming in because they could, of course, Zion could physically dominate anyone.
Yeah.
But he's shown in that game early on, even when he's struggling to get buckets, he was able to try to create for somebody. He has the vision going into some of the double teams, splitting it or throwing it back out. You compare him to LeBron, right? You kind of have to with the level of play they have and the hype they have. I feel like as a rookie, he is a little bit better than LeBron in the sense kind of way. Of course, he has a lot of problems to work with. Weight being one of them, he has to control that. Not gonna lie, he's been playing in 4-minute spurts instead of like properly being a star of the team. So it's going to take some time, but I think the sparks are right, especially with the 3-point shooting.
Yeah, I think Zion, obviously, he's been out for a while with a knee injury, so all he can really practice is those spot-up shots, spot-up threes, and, he's not really great shooting off the dribble, like pulling up, shooting mid-range shots like that, but Zion he did go 4 for 4 from 3, made 4 in a row. That's not going to happen every game, of course, but, I think a guy who Zion, I think, could be similar to is actually Giannis.
Yeah.
Just because of the paint dominance and then being able to kind of work your way inside out. Giannis didn't really develop a 3-point shot till this year. So if Zion even has like a decent one where you have to respect him, that's going to add a whole nother element because, again, he's a guy that lives in the paint. And, yeah, I think when Zion committed to Duke, a big reason he wanted to go there was because Coach K was like, I'm not looking at you as a dunker. I'm looking at you as a basketball player, and you're a great basketball player. And Zion wants to show the world that he was not taking one because he can do a 360 dunk in a game because he's a guy that can pass the ball, he can dribble, he can set up teammates, he can play on and off the ball, he can play them all over the court, and that's kind of what he showed against the Spurs on that 3:30 stretch. And you can over exaggerate, but he literally took over the game.
Oh yeah,
and
he did.
That's kind of like what he did at Duke. Like, there were just times when he was playing at Duke, especially toward the end of the season, where he would do that same exact thing and just take over the game, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Oh yeah, I think he's like, if he stays healthy and like his game got like a little bit more stable, especially in the NBA level, like it's gonna be one of those like Greek freak kind of like Giannis kind of like players that like, well, what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
You're gonna try and like favor one thing out of the other, but he can do it all.
Yeah, you basically have to like almost pick your poison at some point. Yeah, that's literally it. Now we don't normally talk about college basketball a whole lot, but this had there's so many opinions on this. So, in case you missed it, Kansas and Kansas State, which has always been a huge Big 12 rivalry, even though Kansas has always been dominating the Big 12 for years now, Kansas State's always sometimes got their number. They didn't this game. Kansas absolutely blew the Wildcats out. However, it's what happened at the end of the game. So to kind of paint the picture here, one of the players on Kansas State stole the ball as time was expiring. Kansas was just dribbling out the ball. They went to the other side, tried getting a layup, and then Silvio De Sousa blocked a shot, which no foul or anything on the block, but then proceeded to stand over, I forgot who the player was. I think it may have been Antonio Gordon. But, yeah, and he stood over him, and then the benches were clearing out. Silvio De Sousa picked up a chair like it was WWE Raw, and it got completely crazy. So the results of it was a 12-game suspension for De Sousa, which is kind of funny considering that he's missed the last season due to be ineligible for college basketball. So this dude's college career is just about over. David McCormack for Kansas also served 2 games for what he did, although I think he was really more just trying to stop the fight. But Kansas State, then James Love, 8 games, Antonio Gordon, 3 games. So, Ryan, what do you make of all of this? This was pretty bad.
I mean, yeah, it's like, there's an unnecessary chippiness toward the end of the game about like the unwritten rules, like, oh, you just don't do this, you just don't run in, get a cheap steal and lay up for points, stuff like that. So like as a person who has played basketball before, I understand, but like, yeah, it's a little bit unnecessary. But then I feel like it's a little bit too harsh on De Sousa. Like, yeah, he picked up a chair, but did he actually hit anyone? No.
That's true. He didn't actually hit anybody.
Like, he has the intention, and he actually, like, people were like, he's being pulled back. Like, I've seen an angle that like says he didn't got pulled back. He just like picked it up, and I was like nah, fuck nah, and put it back down. So I don't know. But then like just like the bad takes on Twitter just flooded.
Yeah, that's a good point. Twitter is usually not the most reliable source for information, but I will say you did bring up a good point. He didn't actually hit anybody with the chair. It wasn't like the Myles Garrett thing where Myles Garrett literally landed contact with the helmet. But yeah, with De Sousa though, yeah, when he picked it up, I don't know who. It must have been like an equipment manager or something. Like grabbed the chair like out of his hands and then like ripped it out of him. Like he didn't actually even like swing with the chair. But nevertheless, I think he had some sort of intention to do something.
Yeah.
It also, I think, makes it worse that All this went down on the baseline, which Kansas has some of their physically disabled fans sitting at. Obviously, it's hard to move. So literally this was all going down right there with people that maybe can't necessarily defend for themselves either. So that just made matters a whole lot worse. Again, I like the fact that both parties involved and the Big 12 and the NCAA kind of stepped in like right away and immediately suspend these guys, which is more than fair. And yeah, from a basketball point, it is kind of like an unwritten rule. Like if you're losing by 20-something points and is like 10 seconds left, you just dribble out the clock. I mean, I guess you're not supposed to steal the ball.
Yeah.
I guess, but then it's like, why does it matter? You won by 20-something points. So what? And I think Jalen Rose said, like, don't let them steal the ball. That's also another point to bring up. And yeah, everything that escalated after that, Silly DeSosa, don't really get why you gotta look over like that. Obviously, someone's gonna step in and do something. You're not just gonna let your teammates sit there. There's a lot that went wrong here. People were saying, Dick Vitale said that these guys shouldn't be able to like play basketball anymore. I'm like,
But that's Dick Vitale.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know about that. That's a little far. But yeah, heading off that note though, that crazy debacle, even more drama now. NBA oriented here. Doc Rivers basically ripped Montrezl Harrell a new one. Montrez kind of called out the whole team in the media. No one specifically. He didn't name drop or anything. He just basically said, we're not playing as well as we should be, and, we're not at the point that we want to be at. Doc Rivers was very upset with him making those comments. Again, not directed toward anyone particularly, but it was directed toward the team as a whole, and Doc Rivers is kind of a no BS, like keep everything indoors kind of coach in the locker room. There's also been some turmoil going on, rumors spreading that Kawhi Leonard's kind of like, I don't know, bigger than the team, if you will, and acting like that. A lot of his teammates like Pat Bev and Lou Will have kind of shut that down immediately, but yeah, it just seems like, for the talent that the Clippers have right now, I think they're only 4th or 5th in the West. It just doesn't seem like it's clicking.
Yeah, the thing is that you could kind of see it. They're in that like Warriors mode where, at the start of the regular season, at least like first half before the All-Star break, you could like, kind of cruise and pace yourself right. And even look at like some of the, look at like Kawhi and Paul George mainly. They've been taking time off.
Yeah, they missed a lot of games.
I think they're missing a bunch of games as well. So like it's understandable that the team needs time to like, of course, get to the optimal level together, but also like the time is not being invested in it yet, especially with your stars being out. The other thing being said, like you have players like have you seen? I think it's Slam magazine. Have you seen the cover?
Oh yeah, it was like
Trez,
they did.
And
they did like the remodel. It was when the Clippers did it back in I don't know what year in the early 2000s. It was like Lamar Odom. I think it was it's like Miles and maybe Corey Maggette.
Yeah.
I think it was those three guys. Yeah, and they did it again with those three.
But like they've been holding down the fort. They've been playing well. Like
Montrez had a great year.
Like especially he has like games where he has like 32 and 19 rebounds.
Yeah.
And stuff. He's a 6'7" big.
Yeah.
Like he's been busting his chops for like the whole team. I think he has the power to say that. Of course, how Doc Rivers handles it's another problem. Like it's his way of doing it. Like, but then like sometimes these kind of comments just gets to the player. Maybe he needs to be a little bit better with like dealing with such a delicate matter. But like, I don't think they would have like that much internal turmoil, to be honest. I feel like they get along pretty well. So like they just need to pick it back up, and like I think it's in a very understandable situations that they don't want to burn out toward the end, especially with Kawhi and Paul George having a certain degree of injury history.
Yeah, I mean, I saw something. Kawhi and Paul George have missed a combined 30 games, which is pretty interesting. And then, Montrezl Harrell's always been a dude that kind of marches to the beat of his own drum, if you will. But he's always been a team-oriented guy. He's not really viewed as a selfish guy, and he is one of the leaders of this team. Even if he's the fourth best player on the team, like he's still one of the vocal guys on this team. Same with like a Patrick Beverly and Lou Will. So I don't really have a problem with what he said. He didn't call out anyone in particular. He didn't name drop. He didn't even like say anything that hinted toward a specific player or coach or anyone in the organization. So I don't really mind what he said, but I think it's just two ideologies between him and Doc Rivers that are clashing. And then everything's great when you're winning. When you're winning games and doing what you're supposed to, everything's okay. But when you're losing some games, especially ones that you shouldn't be losing, then everybody gets all mad and in their feelings. So, also an interesting thing, Dwight Powell, who's a very underrated part of the Dallas Mavericks operations, the starting center for the team, he ruptured his Achilles, could be potentially out for the year. Mavs are now eyeing Joakim Noah. They are very desperate for a big man right now. I heard they want to get another one, potentially either in the buyout market like that or just in a trade. How do you think this loss kind of impacts the Mavs?
Honestly, I think the Mavs has the deepest bench.
They do have a deep bench, yeah.
In the league, with players like Jalen Brunson, Kleber's been coming
and
out.
Maxi Kleber,
Ryan Brocroft's shooting the hell out of the ball. But
man,
the thing is that Powell has a very specific role. I don't think anyone on that Mavs team can cover as of now. So I think that it's necessary for them to go find contingency plans, considering your bigs are now Kleber and Boban.
Yeah, that's true. Boban's got the ultimate green light there.
Yeah, but they need someone who's kind of pogo sticky, athletic.
Yep.
Joakim Noah is not that.
Not anymore either, at all.
He's never been that. I don't think he's particularly been that. So I feel like they should look for one, but just there's not a lot of options out there.
Yeah, and one thing I like about Dwight Powell is that he plays off Kristaps Porzingis really well.
Yeah.
Because he can guard on the perimeter, and he also, you can play the inside-out game with them. Luka Doncic obviously is one of the best passers in basketball, so a pick and roll with that is also super lethal. And yeah, the Mavs don't really have a player on that team that can specifically do what Dwight Powell does. He may not be, the highest scorer or the best shooter, but he does all dirty work for that team, and he kind of just adds a whole nother element of athleticism that the Mavs kind of, he's probably the best athlete, pure athlete on that team, at least off the top of my head. So that is a big loss for them. I don't think Joakim Noah is the answer, but you never know. The Lakers, they almost signed Noah. They got Dwight Howard instead, and he actually ended up being pretty good for the Lakers this season. So I don't know. Maybe Joakim Noah has one more run in him. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm a little bit
skeptical.
You're skeptical of that.
Yeah. All right. Well, this was just kind of a neat thing I saw here. The Raptors won a basketball game with only 6 players scoring. That's it. 6 players. And all 6 of them scored at least 16 points. It was the first team to have everyone who scored 15-plus points on that team in one game since the Orlando Magic did it in 1996. There's not really anything relevant about that. I just kind of wanted to bring it up.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty cool, right?
It's so random.
And it's also the Raptors has been competing in a certain level that no one kind of expected, especially losing.
I did. I was banging the table on that one, but
yeah, especially with Kawhi and Danny Green both gone, and the team needs a little bit of retooling. Of course, Masai and Nurse, they both dig pretty deep for players, and you could see some of them blossoming now. Especially, I love OG Anunoby.
Yeah, he's a stud.
One of my favorite wing players. Fred VanVleet has been playing very well as well. So they fit the system very well on what they want to run, especially with spacing and pacing and everything like that. And it's harder said than done when you lose those players, like I said. But hey, now they're still pretty competitive. Masai was yeah, I'm trying to go for another championship. It's not gonna happen. But that's also just a very they're in a surprisingly good place.
Yeah. I said the Raptors were going to be a 3 seed entering the season, so I'm not shocked at all. But I will say that, this is a championship team, and these guys play hard. You watch them play. They play hard on both sides of the ball, and they got a lot of good players on that team. Pascal is, people are arguing he may be the most improved player back-to-back because he's been so much better this season, and then OG Anunoby's been a lot better. Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet have always been constants. They got the 2 bigs in Serge and Mark, and even Norman Powell had a really good game the other day. So there's guys on this team that can play basketball, and they got the secret weapon, Chris Boucher. Can't forget about him. Can't forget about him as well. So some more freak athletes, not including Boucher though, are Dwight Howard and Derek Jones. Those are 2 of the guys that have signed off on the dunk contest. 2 obviously guys that have done it before. 2 guys in very different places right now, but also John Morant doesn't seem like he's going to do it. Zach LaVine has no interest in doing it. I'm just kind of wondering how you think this dunk contest will pan out. Is this the year it's actually good again?
I mean, the thing is that the last time Derek Jones was here, I think it was 17, right?
Yeah, it was
He
like
was not that good.
yeah, he was in the G League. I think the Suns pulled him up just so he could be in the dunk contest.
Yeah, but it's also like, he's kind of there and like he's kind of got the yips and all that. I kind of
Yeah.
understand now. He's a pretty core piece for the Heat. Like he's part of the rotation and all
Yeah.
that. And the Heat's, of course, one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. And like I feel like he could pull something off. Of course, you see the stuff in game. He could probably translate it and elevate it in a dunk contest. Dwight Howard, I think, is kind of there for nostalgia, honestly.
Yeah.
He could still throw one down, I'm sure, but like he can't get up like he used to be.
No.
And like the other one, like it kind of depends on who else they get for a contest to make it fun and make it entertaining. John Morant was like the runaway choice for me, but of course he's not
Yeah.
doing it. And
Yeah.
let's just see like how this plans out, especially I don't know, Aaron Gordon again.
Again. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Dwight Howard, I think he's going to do, I don't know if he's going to pull it off, but he's going to do some crazy stuff. He's already talking about wanting to get Kobe involved in one of his dunks, so no idea if he's actually going to pull that off.
Let's bring
but-
Nate Robinson back.
Yeah, bring back Nate the Great. But anyway, speaking of my man Kobe, he had an interesting comment, went a little overlooked. He said that he thinks that there are currently some WNBA players who could play in the NBA, and he said, quote, Diana Taurasi, Maya Moore, Alea Deladon. There are a lot of great players out there, so they could certainly keep up with them. Interesting words from one of the best to ever do it.
Skill wise, yes. If you've seen some of them play, like their skill level is really high.
Yeah.
Athleticism, of course, inherent disadvantage, but like you can't really factor that into consideration as of right now. But then the thing is that like I don't think Kobe doesn't have to go that route for the answer, especially like she has like a few hoopers coming on the come up, especially with her daughter.
Yeah, it's true.
Possibly a collegiate WNBA talent.
Yeah, his daughter can hoop.
Yeah, but the thing is that like WNBA exists and it's on an upward trajectory.
Yeah, it is.
Instead of using this to like make the comparison conversation a rather pointless dialogue, I would say in that context, especially with athleticism, you could use that as a promotional thing for the WNBA instead of like forcing them into the comparison mode every single person has used in the past 20 years since the WNBA has been a thing.
That's a good point, Ryan, that you brought up there. I think Kobe, I mean, he's someone who like literally goes to WNBA games and stuff. Like this isn't a guy that's just like, yeah, these players are good. Like he does take his daughter to the games and NBA games. He obviously coaches his daughter's AAU team as well, so he is involved around the women's side of basketball. The woman he mentioned, I mean, Diana Taurasi is one of the greatest players of all time. She can do everything with the ball in her hands. Maya Moore has been a bucket since UConn. Alea Deladon also is arguably the best player in the WNBA as well. So I think if it was a one-on-one game, I can see them giving problems to people because it's a one-on-one setting. But yeah, I don't know. I think he was just basically asked like, "Hey, how do you think the leagues stack up?" And he was just basically like, "Look, like I think there are some really good WNBA players." So I think he's just giving props where it's due.
Yeah.
So anyway, Larry Fitzgerald, he bought a minority stake in the Phoenix Suns. Perhaps they can use him as a roster, put him on the roster as well. But second active NFL player to do so. Aaron Rodgers bought the Bucks in 2018. That's a pretty good investment for him there. And I don't know. I think the Suns are a little bit on the come up. That could be Larry Fitzgerald may get a bang for his buck there.
Yeah, and also like he's an icon around the area.
Yes.
And he could definitely like put some of his like the attention that he would get onto the Suns and being part of the owner, use his influence as well. Like the Suns are on the way up, but they're still pretty questionably ran. I would just keep it there. So like having an influence like Fitzgerald, I feel like it's gonna help the franchise like PR wise, and also just like maybe an extra set of ideas who has been in the sports industries and understand like how it works.
Yeah, it's interesting because I remember like the Suns used to have like one of the best like ticket sales of any team in basketball like 10 plus years ago when Steve Nash and Mike D'Antoni and them were there, but it's kind of gone down recently. I mean, they got D-Book, obviously. I think their team is getting better. I think Monty Williams was like an amazing hire, get him in the right direction kind of guy. But yeah, I mean, it just helps with publicity and stuff, and I guess it just kind of even more engraves Larry Fitzgerald in the Arizona community as if he wasn't before. And last but not least, on this Around the Association update, the NBA All-Star jerseys were released yesterday. Obviously, it's not East and West anymore. It's, Team Giannis versus Team LeBron. And yeah, they released when we were both doing, holding PSN News auditions, and I thought they were pretty fresh. These last couple of years, I was not a fan of them, but I'm with them now.
I like the fact that they kind of introduced colors back.
Yeah.
We were talking about how it's kind of like I want 2012, 2013 on those All-Star jerseys.
Yeah.
And like I don't think it's at that level because I think the 2012s are some of the best All-Star jerseys
those are
ever.
Nice. They were. Those
But dope. That's a very, I feel like Nike's starting to give a crap again.
yeah, Nike, they've been doing good. Obviously, they've been putting out, the statement jerseys, the city jerseys, the last couple of years. So, and I don't know, I like the Nike jerseys. Like I have a couple, and they're genuinely really nice, to wear. It's I don't know, I like the fabric and stuff. But anyways, that wraps it up there. We're gonna be doing our player of the week. Don't worry, we're gonna keep that one up. You have 3 players.
I do have 3.
3, okay. Just make sure I got that message across. But yeah, so me and Ryan, just like what me and David were doing, each gonna give 3 players. Did not tell each other who we picked, so I'm curious to see if we overlap at all. My list isn't as obscure as it normally is, but anyway, Ryan, who is the first player on your list?
Okay, can I start with a disclaimer?
Okay.
I can't bring myself to go with the Houston players because they have been kind of on a slump. And they will always have the individual stats, especially of course Harden and Westbrook. But I don't feel like they should be there are better options as of this week. Bradley Beal,
real deal Beal.
He looking at our default stat looks. He has 103 points, 12 boards, 19 assists, and shooting 61.2%.
From the field. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And he has a pretty good 8 assist and turnover ratio. Of course, not primarily ball handler, but still could chip in, especially in this Wizards team. Some good players, Jordan McRae's been surprisingly good.
Davis Bertans,
one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. So he has been a bright spot in this pretty grim situation that the Wizards have.
Yeah, any bright spot for the Wizards at this point, I think, should be considered a win. But Bradley Beal, I think he kind of falls in the Trae Young category for the Eastern guys. He's on a terrible team, but individually, he's one of the best players in the league. So I don't fault him for being on a bad team. It's not his fault. He got his money. I'm sure he's not going to finish his career with the Wizards. Highly doubt it. But he got his money. He secured the bag, so checks off to him. But player I had on my list, and you can argue it's just the one game, but then I looked into it. It's not. The hottest player in basketball, which is Damian Lillard right now.
Oh, yeah.
This dude,
He got 61.
over the last 4 games, 34 against the Mavs, 34 against OKC, 61, like you said, Ryan, against the Warriors, and then 47 again against Dallas. So he's going up, other than Golden State, he's going up against really good competition. The Blazers have lost 3 out of their last 4. Not his fault, I would say.
Yeah, not his fault, but that definitely is part of the hit.
Also, he has had at least 6 assists in all those games as well, so he's getting teammates involved, and he's getting his. Yeah, I get the fact that he's losing a lot of games, but at this rate that he's scoring at currently, I could not put him on my player of the week list.
Yeah, I think I kind of overlooked it because I looked at the records first.
That's fair.
Over the players. Second one, basically kind of rolling with that. Jason Tatum. I feel like the Boston Celtics has been on the funk ever since the Sixers game and kind of bouncing without Kemba and without Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
But then they've really picked it up, and I feel like the core part is Jason Tatum. He has been steady in scoring, and also I feel like the Lakers win is really, really big when you think about
they whooped the Lakers. Oh my god,
competitive level, and come back around and beat the Grizzlies as well. The Suns was a little bit questionable loss, but also without their players, especially the backcourt, in tip-top shape. Marcus Smart has to make 11 threes, so that kind of explains what happened down there.
Yeah, no, definitely. The Celtics have been playing a little better recently. They were in a slump. They whooped the Lakers. I was not happy watching that game, to say the least. But I'm
really convinced that happened solely by the fact that I did not watch the game. I was like, I don't want to click over. I don't want to watch it. Like I don't want to jinx it, but it turned out alright.
Yeah, it turned out for at least one team. But yeah, my grandma's great at texting me during the podcast. When's the next one coming up? So by the time you're listening to this, Grandma, just know that we are grinding every day. But next up on my list, a player that you actually mentioned a little bit earlier, Fred VanVleet, playing really well recently. 29 against the Nets, 29 against Timberwolves, 20 against the Hawks, and 22 against the Philadelphia 76ers. It's also worth knowing that the Raptors have won all of these games. They're currently on a 4-game winning streak. And I looked into the numbers. During this 4-game stretch, Fred VanVleet is shooting over 70% from 3. Did he have another kid or something? Like, why is he playing so well?
I mean, he does look like Drake.
He does look like Drake. Probably gets that a lot. But yeah, Fred VanVleet is a bucket. I talked about it in the last pod. Interesting to see how the Raptors maneuver with Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet, because Fred VanVleet is up for he's going to be a free agent in the offseason. He's going to get paid a lot of money. Kyle Lowry gets paid a lot, so you kind of wonder what they're going to do there in Toronto. But anyway, Ryan, who is number 3 on your list?
I think number 3 passes the eye test and the results test as well. So our cutoff is the 18th, right? Because it's a week long.
It is like last 7 days.
OKC has been on a 3-game winning streak, and my third player is Chris Paul.
Chris Paul, he's been playing really well.
One of, I feel like his name will come back up later in our other discussion. I feel like he is a really core part of that Clippers team, especially leading some of the youth on that team. And 3 straight wins against Portland, at Houston, and at Orlando. In those games, he scored 30 against Portland, 28 against Houston, and 19 against Orlando, chipping in like 7. Like the assist numbers are not really good. He has some rebounds as well, but then it's about him controlling the game. It's always what Chris Paul does. He is a very good game manager, and in those games he has a plus 20, plus 17, and plus 10, plus minus.
Oh yeah, plus minus is always a stat. I mean, it can go either way, because like if you're on a bad team, your plus minus is obviously going to be bad. But I think in an interval like that does show Chris Paul's impact. I think he's helped. I feel like he's kind of revitalized his name recognition a bit. I feel like it was kind of going down. Everyone was like, Chris Paul's not that good. He was, worst contract in the NBA, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know if you saw, someone asked him, like, oh, are you going to opt out of your contract? He's like, no. And I wouldn't either if I get paid $40 billion to play basketball. But Chris Paul, again, really good player. He's had, again, a great season. The Thunder have had a great season. He's helped guys out a lot, like a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and, Danilo Gallinari's had a good year, and Steven Adams. I love that 3-point guard lineup they run with CP, Shai, and Dennis Schroeder. It works, and it is very hard to guard. But, credit to OKC and credit to CP3. Now, last but not least on my list, I went very obscure with this one a bit, but John Collins for the Atlanta Hawks. He's starting to get,
he's had a few good games.
He's starting to get his feet wet a bit. Again, he served a 25-game PED suspension, but he had 18 against the Spurs, 20 against the Pistons, 17 against the Raptors, and 33 against the Clippers. He also had 10 rebounds in all of those games, and I think if the Hawks want to get anything going, Trae Young, is going to be there, but John Collins has to be that dude too. Yeah, so those are going to wrap up our Players of the Week. Next up on here, we're going to be talking about a segment called Did They Get It Right? So basically, we're just going to talk about if teams were hitting on, either coaching decisions, free agency signings, trades, things of that nature. So we're going to talk about the first trade I have up here is the trade that we kind of just alluded to with Russell Westbrook and Chris Paul. I think people had various opinions on this one, but I think it's safe to say both teams have panned out pretty well so far from both sides of it.
I would say OKC got the better end of that.
They may have, yeah. I mean, honestly, all those draft picks they got, that's a lot.
Of course, that's a horde of draft picks, and also they have the team has especially after the whole Paul George thing as well. The team has youth.
Yep.
And they kind of need to retool it, and I feel like Chris Paul is a really good mentor. You've been picking up stuff from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or Dennis Schroeder, the stuff that Chris Paul does. You kind of see it on them as well. So I feel like that is of course you talk about that $40 million contract, damn near $40 million. Is it worth it? No, but I feel like that kind of on court coach, but then also just mentoring the youth, that role is really important. Plus, Chris Paul is still actually producing instead of you're Timberwolves, Kevin Garnett, with all due respect to one of the best power forwards in the league. As for the Rockets, I mean, having the star helps. I don't think Harden and Westbrook has figured out how to exactly play with each other. So they're just like going isolation ball on their own. And if they drive in, get open, kick it out to the corner, their shooter's always waiting, pick and roll with Capella. That's what the Rockets been doing for so many years. And it's kind of like everyone's kind of catch up to that.
Yeah. The one you touched on a good point with the Rockets, whether Chris Paul or Russell Westbrook are there or not, they have the most predictable offense in the NBA. It works. Sometimes it's like to the point where you're like, we can't stop this. There's nothing you can do. But I think for both teams kind of won. I think both teams kind of got what they wanted out of it. So if you want to really simplify it, like at this point in their careers, Russell Westbrook is better than Chris Paul.
Oh, yeah.
Westbrook's been playing really well recently. He's the only Rocket playing like really well recently. Like they've been struggling as a team, but he's actually kind of figured it out. Yeah, we're curious to see. The fit's not perfect with James Harden, but they have had moments where, if one of them's on the court at all times, that's already a problem. They both just kind of have to learn how to play off each other, maybe a little bit more. And I think the Rockets need maybe a move or two more potentially to really contend with the top teams in the Western Conference. And you look at OKC. They just have so many options. All these draft picks, they can trade Steven Adams if they want. They can trade Danilo Gallinari if they want. They can trade Dennis Schroeder if they want. They got valuable pieces. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I love him as much as anybody does. I think he's going to be an all-star in this league at some point and in short order. And, that OKC team just has so many options. Sam Presti, I think, was almost thrilled that he can kind of smash the reset button and completely start this team over. And they're winning games. So fans are going to go to their games anyway because they're competing. They're playing hard. They're basically like the Clippers last year.
Yeah.
That's kind of what they remind me of. So
And the thing is that OKC with the 3-point guard lineup that you mentioned, they could create from basically every single spot on the field. Especially when you think about Gallinari.
He can pass too.
He could pass and he could create his own shot as well.
Yep.
He could, this team is very, very well equipped in this modern age of basketball.
Yep.
Especially sometimes the size does get to them, especially with the point guards. But hey, I feel like they're in a really good place. And again, a lot of times in sports and everything, you need to have those options to maneuver, and they have it. Maybe minus Chris Paul's contract.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned, the 20 millionth time in this pod, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too, because I think a lot of people kind of thought entering this, this is going to be Chris Paul's farewell tour. He's going to, do the waving and stuff, and thanks for watching. But he's been really good this season, and again, it's helped the team a lot. He bought them all suits.
Yeah.
Big win, page out LeBron's book right there. But anyway, two more trades, obviously, that happened over the offseason. We can start off with the Paul George trade. We kind of talked about how the Thunder have done with it, obviously, given that, they've gotten all these picks. They got a lot for Westbrook, and they also got a lot for Paul George. On the other hand, though, the Clippers, Paul George has not played a lot this year. Do you think when he finally gets healthy, do you think the Clippers are the best team in basketball?
Yes.
Yes.
On paper, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because that, you think about the depth of that team, think about the pieces they have, how could they, if they could not, somehow it doesn't work out for them, they could strap you to death.
Mm-hmm.
They could absolutely play an elite level of defense with
That's true.
With Pat Bev, Kawhi, and Paul George. No one could get past them, and you got Trez and Zai cleaning up and all that. So they should use their defense as their base, and then look at their offensive situation. Of course, defense is the hardest thing to kind of train back up and get yourself back into your habits and your play style, especially for Paul George, who has been in and out, and also Kawhi as well. So it's gonna take time, but then I feel like, say, after the All-Star break, as we roll toward playoffs, I think the Clippers are going to go on a run there, kind of get themselves ready, especially with players that have championship experience in Kawhi, and just roll with it and challenge for a title. At least I would say Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, that their lineup that they roll out at the end of games with Pat Bev, Lou Will, Kawhi, Paul George, and Montrezl Harrell is not easy to guard. Yeah. It is not easy to game plan against. At the end of the day, on paper, maybe the best 5-person lineup any team can roll out there. And Yeah, I think it's interesting too. Like the Clippers, they really had to swallow their pride to give up Shea Gilgeous-Alexander in that Paul George trade. I think, and Gallinari too. But Shea Gilgeous, they knew that this dude was special.
Yeah.
And I think they knew, like, man, the fact that we have to give him up sucks. But do what
it's
you gotta do.
Yeah, it's also the timeline thing, right?
Yeah.
Like they got Kawhi for 2 years.
Yeah, Paul George for 2 years too.
They got Paul George for 2 years. Like they got basically Kawhi, Paul George, of course, package deal. But then, like when you look at the time frame, like yeah, might be a good option to give up Shea Gilgeous for someone like Paul George, who's a little bit more instant.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
like instant superstar, like top 3 NBA, like MVP.
Yeah, he said he was third MVP
voting,
votes,
yeah.
first team All NBA last season. So yeah, and then it is worth mentioning he also had shoulder surgery on both shoulders. And basketball, you need to shoot the ball. But and then obviously with the Lakers getting Anthony Davis, I mean, you see. It seems like every time the Lakers draft a young player, he leaves the team and then becomes an all-star. We've probably seen that with Brandon Ingram this season. Lonzo Ball is actually playing a lot better recently. But, everyone gave the Lakers, slack for giving up so much for Anthony Davis. But you're seeing the results now because the Lakers, are rolling. And in a tough Western Conference, they're 5 games over 500. I mean, they're 5 games ahead of second place.
Like, it's worth it. Like, LeBron needs that other star. You got that other star. Like, arguably... Is Anthony Davis the best player LeBron has ever played with, like on an NBA team? Yes, I think so.
Yeah, it's also probably the best fit LeBron's ever had. Like, LeBron and Wade, they had to had to pan it out a bit. LeBron and Kyrie kind of had to work it out a bit. Right away, LeBron and AD went in there, and it was instant chemistry, obviously because of the play styles. But and also you have to look long term. When LeBron's gone, now you have Anthony Davis, and you convince another superstar to come there because Anthony Davis is there. So it makes sense, like, to make a trade like that when you have the ability to do so.
And he wants to be there.
Yeah, and then obviously, there's a lot of coaching hires over the offseason. Frank Vogel, John Beilein, Monty Williams, and Luke Walton, to name a few. Which one of these coaches has maybe surprised you, either for better or worse?
Vogel. Like, of course, the hire was a little bit questionable by some people's standards. I was questioning it a little bit, but then, like, they kind of have to, like, skill coaches behind it, like, of course, Jason Kidd.
Mm-hmm. Lionel Hollins, yeah.
Yeah, and also, like, they don't in the end, they don't interfere with LeBron a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of, like, the best situation that they could kind of have. Just roll with it and, like, I mean, GM Braun, Coach Braun for part of it, but, like, just having that, like, almost laissez-faire kind of relationships with players and coaches, and it all worked out.
Yeah, it just seems like Frank Vogel, I think a big reason why he worked out better in Indiana, let's say, in comparison to Orlando, is I think some coaches are really good at, like, rebuilding the team. Like, if the team's completely nothing, they're able to build them up. But then there's some coaches, like a Phil Jackson, who can't really do that, but they're great at managing superstars.
Mm-hmm.
We saw that, Frank Vogel was able to manage Paul George or Roy Hibbert when Roy Hibbert was good. And he's doing the same thing with LeBron and AD. And so I think he's a guy that he can get the best out of players on a contending team, maybe not one of a rebuilding team. So you gotta give credit to the Lakers front office. I know that wasn't their first choice or even their second choice, but Frank Vogel has done one hell of a job with that team. And the most important thing is defensively, the Lakers, they are finally good on defense. That has not been the case for probably 10 plus years.
Yeah, especially, like, with the addition of Danny Green. Really
of course,
important.
yeah.
Anthony Davis, arguably Defensive Player of the Year candidate, at least. I think I have him as that. And, like, just looking at the whole team, LeBron's trying a little bit harder.
He's trying a little harder on
defense.
defense.
They have, like, veteran options who could, like, kind of, like, drift in and out of the lineup. And, they'll, like, Dwight Howard, he's been playing his butt off, literally. Mm-hmm. And, like, Rondo as well. So, like, they have those kind of options to kind of, like, roll with it. And, like, they could part way with a talent or just questionable talent, like with Kuzma, and get even more back.
Yeah, that's kind of the debate. Like, do the Lakers give up Kuzma or not? And if so, how do you go about it? I think if I'm the Lakers, I wouldn't trade, like, down for Kuzma. Like, if I were to trade Kuzma, he can't be the center of the package. It'd almost be the other way around. Like, they're trading up to get an upgrade from Kuzma. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I've heard rumors that the Lakers may try to go after Zach LaVine. from the Bulls. Like that would, if I'm a Laker, like being a Laker fan, like I would not mind seeing that because they're getting an upgrade from Kuzma.
Zach LaVine's dropping like 25 per game.
Yeah, and Zach LaVine is again one of those other really good players in the East, stuck on a bad team. But anyway, we obviously talked about Vogel, so I won't go into that a bit. I think another guy, I'll be a little negative Nancy here, is John Beilein. He's not really gotten control of that locker room. I don't know about you, Ryan, but at the time when he decided to leave Michigan and go to the Cavs, it did not make that much sense. I just didn't get it.
Like it's one of those like when you see that Bleacher Report notification pop up, you're like, what the hell is going on there?
Yeah,
like especially like John Beilein's been in the college ranks for forever by now. Yeah, has a control of a very good program as well.
Yeah, Michigan like made all these Final Fours with him and stuff. Like,
yeah, now Juwan Howard's dropping the bag as well. But anyways,
yeah.
But anyways, like yeah, he will not suit the college coaching, like the NBA coaching format and model. Yeah, they have a lot of young talents, but like I don't think he fits that model, especially when you look at I don't even know, like 98, 99, 99, 90, Rick Pitino on the Celtics.
Yeah.
Like he is like that waiting to happen going into the Cavs, and well, that kind of happened.
Yeah, I think the one thing that attracted the Cavs, obviously, is what he can do in building up young guys. Literally, he's in college, but also they did run a very pro-style offense at Michigan and defense when they were there. So you can kind of be like, okay, I can see it. But again, the players are different. They're professionals. You don't have to get on their case all the time. Like you're not like their second father, if you will, or something like that. Like John Beilein, a smart guy, a very well respected guy. I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer. Like, I don't know if he's in there right now, but he potentially could be. But it just seemed like he lost control of the locker room, and I'm not very sure he's gotten it back. So it's not looking good. He risked it all, and it was not the best.
Yeah,
that's risking it all in basketball terms right there. But anyways, some free agency signings, of course. There's been more than a couple over the offseason that really made a big impact. Ryan, I want to know who's one player you want to kind of highlight here, or maybe a team in general that you think really kind of won the free agency period.
Kemba.
Yeah.
He is a better. Like I'm a Celtics fan. He's definitely better fit than Kyrie Irving.
He's a better fit. Yeah, I can.
He's a better fit. Like he's a more selfless player, and he could like orchestrate the offense a little bit better than Kyrie Irving, who would have the ball in his hands for like 18 seconds per possession, and I would start getting annoyed by it, despite the flashes he's shown. Of course, a little bit of a negative, almost animosity, but like negative relationship Kyrie has toward the end with the organization and with some of his teammates as well. So everything kind of flowed naturally, and of course, thank you the Hornets for lowballing Kemba. That's one of the
Hornets botched that one.
biggest thing, and they got Terry Rozier back. Like
who's getting outplayed by Devontae Graham?
Yeah. So like just looking at that, I feel like Kemba's the best fit, especially on the team with like now very similar situations with OKC. I feel like the four players on the team, Kemba, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Gordon Hayward, they could all kind of create for themselves.
Yep.
And if they're like on a roll and everything goes well, it's going to be they're just a little bit hard to guard, especially with the talent they have and the youth that they have. Yeah,
I think the team in general just seems a lot more bought in. There's not just Kyrie, but like there's a lot of egos last year. It seemed like everyone was kind of playing for themselves. They weren't playing as like a team. And not to blame, again, I'm not going to put all that on Kyrie, but it just seems this year like Jaylen Brown kind of has a more distinct, defined role. Jason Tatum has kind of grown into himself a little bit more here. And then obviously Kemba, his attitude and his leadership has been nothing but spectacular. And then again, obviously Gordon Hayward, he's not like the scapegoat anymore. Like everything's your fault, like either. And Marcus Smart's had a good year. They definitely need a guy down low that can really protect the rim and stuff. Because they do give up. They're very susceptible to letting it up. But their perimeter defense has been actually very, very good this year. Even guys like Jaylen Brown have been playing like all NBA defense.
Jaylen Brown has been playing like
he may be all defense this year. Yeah, like Jaylen Brown's been awesome. He's had a great year. But for me, I'm gonna say it's easy to say Kawhi Leonard, and we did talk about Jimmy Butler a bit, how he kind of changed the culture and stuff and things of that nature. I'm gonna go with an underrated one, cheating a little bit here. I'm gonna go with what the Pacers did, getting Malcolm Brogdon and Jeremy Lamb.
With the Bogdanovich money, basically.
Yeah, I mean Bogdanovich actually been very good with Utah, but I like what they did in the offseason because they got two guys that could they stepped up while Victor Oladipo was out, and he's coming back too on the 29th, so it's right around the corner. But and then to double down on that, I think both those guys can play off of Victor Oladipo as well. And so I think the Pacers have a good thing going. A lot of guys that can really create their own shot. I think that's something they kind of lacked when Vo was like really playing the last time he was on the team. Now they got multiple guys. I think they're going to be a really tough out in the playoffs.
I feel like Malcolm Brogdon's one of the most this is I think a shared sentiment between everyone. He's one of the most underrated guards
100%
in the league.
Yes.
I feel like with his size and his shooting ability and his defense, everything combined together, I feel like he's definitely of the elite in the upper echelon of guard play, especially in the NBA overall as well. Jeremy Lamb, people have kind of given up on him. And
he's an on-and-off player, but
if you want him to he just does 3-and-D. It does it well, and that's what the team needed, and that's kind of the perfect situation, especially with players like Domantas Sabonis and also Miles Turner as well. Those are moving pieces, and they have McConnell coming from the bench, managing games.
McConnell.
I feel like that's almost cheating how good of a roster the Pacers get, especially some of those players are my personal favorite to have on the team if I'm a GM or something.
Yeah.
With TJ, with Brogdon, with Sabonis as well.
TJ Warren's had a good year too for them. That was another get they got via trade.
Now they kind of had a logjam on the wing and the guards as well. But then that also signifies the level of talent that they have.
Yeah, I think it's a good problem to have when you have too many good players. Sometimes I guess if you're the Celtics, it doesn't work out, but I don't know. I always think it's we have too many good players that you have a team like the Hawks and the Knicks. Come on, but I do really like what the Pacers have done. I think Sabonis and Turner are playing off of each other a lot better than they have in the past. And I think it sets up. It could be a little awkward when Victor Oladipo comes back, but I think everyone is in agreement that he's the best player on that team. So.
Yes.
And I think Nate McMillan needs to get more credit as a head coach because he's been fantastic ever since he's been there. I feel like everyone counts out the Pacers. I count them out a little bit this year. I thought they'd get off to a slow start because no VO, but nevertheless, they actually have gone off to a pretty good start and probably are only going to get better when their best player comes back.
And the thing is that when you talk about players like TJ Warren and Brogdon and Lamb as well, Vio now has time to kind of ease back in. He could just kind of play himself back to form and back to fitness, and they have those good players that they could still rely on, and it kind of smooths out the whole process and makes everything work better.
Yeah, no, I definitely can agree with you on that one. Now, I kind of want to know, Ryan, who's a player that, or a couple of players or a team that you think we're still kind of waiting to see if it's all going to work out for them?
Philly. I think we're going to touch on Philly in a later segment.
Yeah.
But then they have good pieces. They just haven't meshed really well. They do what they do well.
Yeah.
But they haven't meshed as a team well. With Tobias, of course, getting that big old contract.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's proving it on that level at least.
Yeah.
And Al Horford is not cheap. And also you're kind of basically front-loading his contract because toward the last part of his 3-4 year contract, he's not going to be good. So you're kind of throwing that money for the next 2 years of Al Horford, and he does the things that he does, people all expect him to do, but also just he does not have the impact he has on the Celtics, especially on the defensive end, commanding everything. So 76ers has one of the most talented rosters, and that kind of just bothers me that they're of course they're my rivals, but it bothers me that they're not performing at that level as they should be.
Yeah, I said on the podcast I wouldn't be super surprised if they moved Harris or Horford at the deadline. I really wouldn't, because Elton Brand's been an extremely aggressive GM. Tobias Harris has been playing really well this season, but like you said, they gave him so much money. They gave him superstar money, and he's probably just a pretty good NBA player.
He's just scoring the ball, he just scores the ball basically.
Yeah. So that's a good point you brought up there. Next up here, we're gonna talk about what you all been waiting for, our all-star picks. It was hard for me to really. I feel like every year I do this, I leave guys off.
It was hard in a way
Yeah.
that like of course, like I did research last night and I came back to it like earlier today because
Yeah.
like I just have the time. Like I feel like some part of mine is especially is because of like AI tests, but then it's kind of like a personal preference.
Yeah, it
Because
could
you
be.
can't really fault someone for putting like someone in or
Yeah,
someone out because like I feel like a lot of players have been playing on a very high level this season.
yeah, you're definitely right, Ryan. So I think what we'll do here, usually what me and David would do, I say you can, I guess, read off your Eastern Conference guys first, and then we'll kind of talk what I have, and then I'll kind of chip in like who I also had that you didn't. So,
Mhm.
all right, I guess you can read off your first 7.
Okay, I'll reward like bad teams, I guess.
Mhm.
Zach Levine, not that bad. They're numbered like they're like 10th in the
Yeah,
conference, and
Yeah.
they're actually not that bad.
not
but
that
we
bad.
could go into that later. Bradley Beal, I feel like his stats output should warrant him a spot, especially in that depleted roster. Depleted in quotes. Derrick Rose definitely deserves one.
Wow, D
especially,
Rose,
especially with the fanfare as well. You
Yeah.
kind of have to take that into consideration. Jason Tatum,
Jason Tatum,
Bam Adebayo,
Bam Bam.
Vucevic, and Domantas Sabonis. I think I left out Jimmy Butler, and I'm questioning that a little bit, but like
You did leave out Jimmy
Yeah.
Butler. You think you take Bam Adebayo over Jimmy Butler?
I might put Jimmy Butler in, but like I'm just personally a really big fan of Bam Adebayo.
Mm-hmm.
He's scoring really well
Yeah.
this season, especially with like his little mid-range game as well. Also, great rebounder. He's averaging 1.2 steals and 1.2 blocks as well. So, and 6 assists. Surprising. Like,
Yeah.
No,
he can pass.
no, it's like 4.6 assists, but like that's still
No,
really
it's
good
still
for a big
really
man.
good for a true
For a big
center.
man,
Yeah,
yeah.
I love Bam. We talk about him on the pod all the time. He can do everything. But I think I have 3 players on my list that you also had.
Oh, okay.
So this is gonna be interesting. I had Bradley Beal, I
Mhm.
had Domantas Sabonis, and I had Bam Adebayo.
Mhm.
Both of them all 3 of them made my list. I didn't have him on my list the last time me and David drew this up, but I have Ben Simmons. I
Mhm.
feel like he's gonna get on there. Like I feel
Yeah,
like he kind of has built that reputation.
Mhm.
He's playing a lot better as of recent.
Yeah.
He's really starting to pick it up a lot for the Sixers. Sometimes has been looking like the best player on that team.
Mhm.
And defensively, he's played so well this season.
Oh yeah. I
Like
think
he's been
like
locking down on defense.
first team, at least like second team.
Yeah, he's been really good. I have Jimmy Butler on there.
Mhm.
I thought he was going to be a starter, but Jimmy Butler, what he's done to completely change the course of Miami Heat, I think has been remarkable. He's been a true culture changer. And then the other 2 guys I had, Kyle Lowry, which could be debatable, but I just he's been scoring so well this season, and he's also top 5. I think he's first or second in minutes per game, so he's literally laying it all out there. Obviously, he's a guy who's a hoorah guy, takes charges, makes the big play when it counts.
Mhm.
And Chris Middleton, who's having a borderline 50, 40, 90 season. And the Bucks are just rolling. He's had probably statistically his best season yet,
Oh yeah.
and I want to reward winning, and so that's why I put Middleton in there for the Bucks.
I think Middleton makes sense. Like I've been like juggling the Butler Middleton part for a little bit. I actually did not end up putting them in. Like I would say like my reserves is a little bit big centric, especially with Sabonis, Vooch, and Adebayo. But like I kind of stand by it. The thing is that like I feel like rewarding winning, of course, important, but then like I feel like Giannis is so far and away like the candidate
Yeah,
for the
of
Bucks.
course.
Of course, like Chris Middleton has been playing really well, but then in a way I kind of like gone with Tatum.
Yeah, Tatum was probably like my last guy not to
with
make
like
it.
like with Kemba making the starting lineup, I feel like Tatum
Mhm.
deserves this as well, but that's another process. Yeah.
Yeah, the last time I made my list, I did in fact have Jason Tatum. I think I replaced him with Chris Middleton.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jason Tatum has been awesome. Even Jaylen Brown, again, I guess they may split votes a little bit, like which
Mhm.
ones. But I mean, I would take Tatum, but Jaylen Brown also is really good.
Jaylen Brown's averaging around 20. I wanna
Yeah, I
say.
mean, it is pretty close, but
Yeah.
I mean, they got well-rounded attack in Boston. I guess that's what you've learned today in this podcast,
Yep.
if you've learned anything. But next, we'll go in the Western Conference. I guess we'll do the same thing, Ryan. So I guess just give your reserves for that.
Okay. Ingram,
Okay.
Gobert, Jokic, Devin Booker. I'll put Wiggins in there.
Hmm.
And then these 2 might be surprising. CP3 and Shea, both.
Both of them.
Yes.
Wow.
I feel like it's just like my eye test of being really impressed by OKC, especially I guess in the start of the season not having really high expectation, but I feel like they were both really, really producing on the guard spot. CP3 has like 17, 5 rebounds, 6.4 assists, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has 19.8, 6 and 3.
Yeah.
I feel like they are both like the borderline players, especially in this discussion. But then I just ran screw it and picked them both. Of course, Booker with the scoring. Wiggins has been playing really well, and like with Towns missing some time,
That's true.
I feel like he should be there representing the Timberwolves. He's scoring 22 points per game as well. Ingram, I don't think we really have to say anything. We have to put someone from the Nuggets in there, so I went with Jokic. Kind of obvious of a pick. And Rudy Gobert has some of the best win share numbers, and
He does.
this season
his
as
advanced
well.
numbers are very favorable.
Yeah, and like he has like 14 and a half rebounds and 2 blocks.
Yeah. I had 4 players the same as you. I had Brandon Ingram, Rudy Gobert, Nikola Jokic, and Devin Booker. I had all those guys. I almost put Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in there, but I didn't. I can't believe you didn't have Damian Lillard in there.
True that.
I think the Blazers are 10th in the West, so they're not that far down. But come on, Damian Lillard's like,
yeah, he's about to block me on Twitter, like
he's
right as this comes out.
He's gonna be like all NBA this season. I don't know where you're going with that one, but I had Donovan Mitchell on my list as well. I feel like him and Devin Booker are like about equal.
Yeah.
And Mitchell, I would put over him just because they're winning more games, but I still did have Devin
They're
Booker.
number 2 in the West, I want to say.
Yeah, they
On
had
that surge,
They had that huge win streak, 10 games, and then I actually did have Russell Westbrook. I didn't have him my last time, but I have him here. The Rockets are still winning a ton of games, and he individually has played really, really well recently, and he's always going to give his 100%. And again, like off the name recognition, I do feel like he's going to get in.
Yeah, he's probably
gonna
get in. Yeah.
Like I feel like Twitter would like blow up if he doesn't. But yeah, I mean, that just shows you right there how different. I've not seen 2 lists exactly the same at all. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. That's just how talented basketball is. It's not just the West; it's the East too. I left off guys like the Celtics dudes. I left off Levine. I left off Spencer Dinwiddie, who I really wanted to put on there.
Dinwiddie has like 20.
I know. I left off in the West. DeMar DeRozan's been playing really well recently.
He's like 22, I want to say.
Yeah, and he's been really blowing it up. And I didn't have Wiggins on my list. Towns didn't make it. Paul George didn't make my list. Like, it's kind of crazy that
also like missing game start.
Yeah, I mean that's why he didn't. I put him on there. I was like, hey, he's missed a lot of games, but yeah, I mean that just kind of shows you the parity in today's NBA. Now this next segment, I'm really looking forward to this one. If me and Ryan share anything of the same, that's going to be insane considering we got very specific with this. We're basically going to talk about who the missing pieces are for some contending teams. So basically, me and him, we each have 3 teams, 3 players to a specific team, who we think that this could be potentially the piece that they need to get in order to really, I don't know, boost their win totals, if you will. So Ryan, give your first move.
I'm going to steal your thunder here. I'm going to go with Lakers.
Okay.
They need one more better shooter who can create.
Okay.
And I feel like the easier one to go for is Bogdanovic from the Kings.
Okay.
He's on the last year of his contract. He could probably be moved for a cheaper price because it's going to be hard for the Kings to re-sign him, especially with like the horde of young talents they have for being so bad.
Yes.
At the first place. So like having someone like Bogdanovic here for that instant offense, especially I expect him to come off the bench. I think that would help. It will need some maneuvering, but I don't think they're willing to give up Kuzma for someone like Bogdanovic, especially.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
But like
big thing.
They just have to juggle and see what pieces would Sacramento take.
So you think if that trade happened, would Kyle Kuzma be in it?
No.
You don't think so?
I don't think the Lakers would be willing to give up Kyle Kuzma for Bogdanovic only. Let's say if something happens and Bogdanovic and Bjelica is both part of the deal, that's a different.
That would maybe sweeten the pot a bit. I did have the Lakers in here, and I did have that same mentality. I just didn't have Bogdanovic. I had Derrick Rose.
Oh yeah.
In there instead. He's again. You had him in your All-Star team. he's been awesome this season. I mean, his per 36 is literally on par with his MVP. All the advanced numbers, if you are into that, suggest that he's also having a good season. And the eye test, just watch him play basketball. I know the Pistons suck and you don't want to watch the Pistons play, but you will watch because Derrick Rose has been that dude. And the Lakers, like you said, they need a guy like that who can dribble, pass, and shoot, can come off the bench and really give you a bucket, especially at the guard spot. People acting like Kuzma's had a terrible season. He's a wing, and he's not naturally a guy who's going to bring up the ball and set up teammates. That's not what he does. I think ideally, I don't think the Lakers would give up Kuzma for Derrick Rose just due to the contract and the ages and stuff. So I think they could, be good there. They probably have to give up draft picks, which they don't have a lot of.
Yeah.
But they would have to, if they can muster that out, I think that, could really put the Lakers over the top as, the best team maybe in the NBA.
Yep.
So anyway, Ryan, who else did you do in your, crystal ball of trades?
It's the age-old thing of Boston Celtics needing a big, a traditional big. I'm a little bit more skeptical on this move. I'm eyeing Steven Adams.
Yeah, that's been swirling around recently.
Yeah, but then the thing is that I don't feel like the team right now should give up Gordon Hayward. And Enes Kanter has been on the rise. He has been playing much better than like the early stages, and like he was beast like in the first half against the Lakers as well.
He did. Yeah, he killed the Lakers. Oh my god.
Like Theis is a very good option to be that brawly big and just kind of like plug holes in the middle. He has a knack for blocking shots, and if you use kind of like Kanter with him sporadically, like kind of in and out, I feel like they could still try to work it out without losing Gordon Hayward, because I feel like Hayward would be an important piece. Like the money, of course, doesn't make sense now, but like he could be that like veteran presence, and he's still very crafty with the ball. So like, as much as I throw out Steven Adams as an option out there, I don't think the Celtics are very realistically going to get it, especially having to match his salary. That means stumping off Gordon Hayward.
Yeah, I completely check off everything you just said there. Steven Adams would be an awesome fit with the Celtics, but I guess the question is kind of what I said, with Derrick Rose with the Lakers. Can they actually pull it off? I'm not sure, because they would have to give up Gordon Hayward or maybe Marcus Smart or something. I'm not sure.
Smart's making like $12 million. It's not that much.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's not that bad. But I think the other part you have to throw into it is that the Celtics are probably going to have, the Grizzlies' first-round pick, because it was top 6 protected. It's looking like the Grizzlies are not going to be that, but it's still going to be a lottery pick. Do they give that up to get Steven Adams? Probably not, but that's probably the best trade asset they have.
Like, if there's a first-round pick involved in the Steven Adams trade, of course it has to be with a player because of that $25 million contract he has. But if there's a pick involved, it has to be the Celtics' own pick.
Yeah.
They will not throw away the Grizzlies' pick, especially in a rather, it's going to be rather stacked with, like, it's not the best draft year, but it's going to be stacked with, like, maybe sophomore, juniors players that might be a better fit for the Celtics now, because they're more mature and they could contribute faster, instead of getting like God forbid, Romeo Langfords in the world.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the Celtics, other than Romeo, they did draft Carson Edwards and Grant Williams, 2 All-Americans, 2 guys. I mean, Romeo Langford was good at Indiana. He definitely, and he like had a broken thumb the whole season, so in his shooting hand. But yeah, I mean, they did go a little more veteran there, but yeah, I mean that definitely, if they can pull that off, I mean, the Celtics would be really hard to score against with Steven Adams. Now, a trade I didn't make this one up like, like, oh, this is amazing, but I said Kevin Love to the Suns. I think it's pretty doable, and I think this could actually happen. I mean, Dario Saric should probably be like their draft picks, maybe throw in a Mikal Bridges or Cam Johnson or something like that. I think Kevin Love fits with the Suns. We already see they kind of like the versatility. Aaron Baines is shooting threes and stuff. Like, It makes sense. I think he plays off Devin Booker well, keeps him happy. I think the real question is, of course, if the Cavs would accept it, are the Suns ready to make a big boy move like this?
No.
You don't think so?
No. They have good pieces, but I would say they need like 2 years away.
I don't know, though. The only thing is that I feel like the clock is started now for Devin Booker.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, you got to keep him happy. I would not be shocked at all if they can't really get anything going, if they're like, Devin Booker's like, trade me.
Yep.
He got his money. He's good. Like, and that's really the only thing the Suns really, really have going for them. And I think I'd do it. Like, at this point, you got to make your fans happy. We want to show growth in this franchise, and maybe getting Booker and Love can maybe attract another player to the team. So I don't know. I would do it if I was the Suns, but let's agree to disagree. Anyway, Ryan, what is the last move that you have?
I don't want to be like too vanilla here, but I have to say the 76ers need shooting.
Yes. Cold take of the day.
Cold take of it. Yeah. JJ Redick, but I don't think they could possibly do it because they need like a calendar year in between that move. So, my pick is Davis Bertans.
Davis. I could see that happening.
Like, especially with the size advantage that the 76ers want to maintain on the team because, like face it, they just want to be big with the scouting and recruiting they do. Like, having someone like Davis Bertans who knocks his 3 ball down in such a good clip would be very important, especially when you see like players like Korkmaz actually playing 4 right now. Imagine having like Bertans
Oh my God.
in that spot, of course, sacrificing some perimeter defense, but like their perimeter defense is
Very good.
exceedingly very good, especially with Ben Simmons and also Josh Richardson.
Yeah, I mean that move, I like that one a lot because A, it's doable, and B, it fills a need. Davis Bertans, I can't believe the Spurs let him walk like that.
They were pissed because it was part of the Marcus Morris thing, and he went on to the Knicks.
Yeah,
and like they don't have the money to do it, and they had to let him walk.
Yeah, you very rarely do you see the Spurs let go of somebody like that. So I was very shocked there. He's had a very quiet, good season with the Wizards. Maybe not so quiet as we've hyped him up all day here, but yeah, I mean that one makes a ton of sense. I have on my list another 3-and-D guy. Is going to be Robert Covington to the Houston Rockets.
I have a few teams written down. I put like Rockets. I don't even know how to fix them because like, yeah, they could have like pieces like that who could be 3-and-D and helpful for the squad, but they're not gonna get the ball.
Yeah, well, Robert Covington is always
doesn't really need the ball, yeah,
and he's always played off guys. Like he played off in Philadelphia, even like in Minnesota. He's the one of the not the top or even top 2 scoring option, but I just think the Timberwolves are going to be selling at the deadline. It seems like their season has not gone as planned. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. And so their best realistic trade piece is Robert Covington. I think that, of course, Houston could use like a more of an upgrade. It seems like Eric Gordon isn't as good as he once was.
Oh, he fell off like big time.
He fell off. Ben McLemore's playing the 3 for them right now, so if that's not telling of anything, that maybe perhaps putting in Robert Covington to go along with Harden, Westbrook, and Clint Capella and PJ Tucker. I mean, that starting 5 is probably a top 5, top 3 starting lineup in basketball if they can pull that off.
Oh yeah.
Like so, I just think Robert Covington would fit there, and I think you always know Daryl Morey is he's always drawing up on the whiteboard like, how can I get this trade off and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
And like Covington is your best option in being one of the best like plug and play 3-and-D players that the NBA loves so much now.
Yeah, and literally he fits Houston. It's just shoot a ton of threes to play defense. He's like, okay, cool. Like,
yep.
So he fit right in with there. Next up, we're gonna have some midseason award picks. So we're gonna be doing MVP, Coach of the Year, Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and Most Improved Player. We'll see if we have any overlaps or not. So, Ryan, which one do you want to start off with?
If you can't like pick it up in the past, like I don't know, hour-ish of content that I've given you, I am a fan of European players, and I've decided to go with the more European of the 2 of the best European players. I have Luka
Doncic. Yeah. Explain that one a little more. Why him?
I feel like the thing is that the Bucks. I understand it's gonna be Giannis or Luka.
Mm-hmm.
Giannis like is in a better situation in Luka, so to say.
Yeah,
he has like better pieces around, and George Hill's shooting like over 50% from 3. Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, everything's like built around him. I feel like Luka has to shoulder a little bit more of a load. Of course, he had that injury that was unfortunate, but like he has been consistently producing, like with his triple doubles, with like he sets, like you said, one of the best passers in the league. And he could have the ball in his hands, and the Mavs don't really have to worry. I personally rate him just very highly, just because like kind of seen him grown since like the Real Madrid days, where I dabble a little bit on the EuroLeague side. So like I'm just a very big fan of Luka just coming into the league, and now he has come up to that level that I kind of have to stick with him for my MVP pick. I totally understand the Giannis angle, though. I believe you're picking him as well.
I am picking Giannis, yes. I love Luka Doncic. Love him. I think he's fantastic. I remember earlier in the fall semester, I said that my bold prediction for the NBA was that Luka Doncic was going to be second-team All-NBA. I think I undershot my bold prediction. I don't even know how it's possible. But anyways, yeah, with Giannis, again, their team is just so much better than the Mavs right now. Giannis has gotten better every single year he's been in the NBA, literally. And I can't underestimate the fact that obviously he added the three-point shot, but he's so good on defense, too. He can guard anybody. Luka, not so much. So that's why I have Giannis over him. But anyway, Ryan, Coach of the Year. I think this one we may agree on.
Frank Vogel.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, I there's not a whole lot to say there.
Did not expect that.
Didn't expect it,
earlier,
but yeah. Again, I also like the team galvanizes around him, but I also like the fact how when you watch them schematically, defensively, they're so poised. They play so hard. They rotate really well. They communicate really well. That's got to do with coaching, and the fact that they're able to go on these long winning streaks and multiple times throughout the season. The fact that they're able to stay focused and stay grounded at the same time, you gotta give credit to coaching there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, Rookie of the Year. This one, I think we both agree is John Morant, but
he's hit more threes than Ben Simmons in his career.
I guess an argument we can have here, since we're both obviously going to go Ja, do you think that somebody could overtake John Morant for Rookie of the Year?
Zion, if he gets more consistent playing time, but outside of him, no.
I
maybe Tyler Hero.
I'm gonna say no. In general, because I think if Zion plays amazing, yeah, but John Morant has a full body of work, and I feel like he's gonna get better and better. We saw a Trae Young, he had a good start, but then at the end of the season was oh my god. I think John Morant's gonna be that same way. So I think that maybe long term I'd take Zion over John Morant, in general, but for Rookie of the Year this year, I feel like it's Jaws to lose, so I'm going to go
also,
there.
Special shout out, I want to, just because I want to mention this player, Brendan Clark.
Oh my God, I love Brendan Clark.
So good.
Yeah.
Has been 63% from the field, 40% from free, 80% on free throw line. He is he's basically been playing really well as a bench piece for the Memphis Grizzlies. Can kind of switch between the 3 and the 4 as well, but plays very hard.
Yeah.
Super good. Plays very, very well in defense.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of John Morant, you gotta have to bring him up. Of course, not going to be a Rookie of the Year candidate, but on his own, performing extremely well, and kind of that college experience came and play there.
I had him preseason first team All NBA or first team Rookie All NBA.
That's not far. I feel
he may be.
He may be. Yeah.
I had him as my number 8 player entering the draft, and he went 21st. I was just what's going on? And then
Boston didn't pick him, I was.
And then he wins Summer League MVP. He's playing really well, like you said. I'm I don't get it. Why would all these teams passing on him? I guess because he's older and he's not tall. He's not long. 6'8". Yeah, but he was more of he played the 5 at Gonzaga, so obviously it's undersized. But I'm look, he's so athletic. He's great on defense. He can switch on anybody.
He has that knack on the boards as well.
He's an amazing rebounder. Yeah. He shoots really well from the field. I didn't get it. I did not understand why everyone was overlooking him. I'm this doesn't make sense. Watch the film. He's better than Rui Hachimura was, and wasn't even close. But defensive player of the year,
Anthony Davis.
Okay, so we are 3 or 4 on who we think wins stuff. Maybe I wrote this ahead of time a couple of days ago before I knew you were coming on, so maybe. But yeah, I agree. Anthony Davis. I also have to say, the fact that you can do that well on offense, and it's harder to play good defense. I feel like that says a lot. And Anthony Davis has wanted it, and the Lakers' whole defense has been transformed, and he's been the big reason why.
The system also kind of changed because of his presence as well.
Yes,
people be scared of just walking into the paint and seeing Anthony Davis. They're one of the best athletes, one of the best basketball players, you could argue, right now. And a team like the Lakers could literally funnel traffic toward Davis, and he could just pick it up. He has that special talent on defense that could cover a lot of things for the Lakers. And the whole thing just transformed because of Anthony Davis, I would have to say. And also Danny Green, shout out.
Yeah,
been talking about him.
Represent. But I'll say this: the two things, obviously, of course, I watched like all the Laker games. Two things that Anthony Davis does really well in defense that doesn't really get talked about: deflections, gets a lot of deflections, gets in passing lanes and driving lanes, things of that nature. Gets his hand on the ball, forces jump balls, and he doesn't foul.
He doesn't foul, yeah.
He's very, very rarely in foul trouble, and I think that does speak to how good you are in defense, especially when you're a big man and people are coming at you all the time.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I gotta respect Anthony Davis there. And most improved player, who do you have?
Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown.
I think he passes, of course, his stats took a bump, but also he passes the eye test because he has been so much better in creating shots for himself, especially on those one dribble pull-ups, but also maintaining some of the good traits that he has, especially shooting three from the corner. He's been shooting better on the wing now, and of course, I feel like he's one of the best defensive pieces the Celtics have.
Probably the best, I'd say.
Yeah, put out the defensive lineup. You want to lock it up. Bring in Smart. Bring in Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
They could do the job for you. And, of course, very, very nice complimentary piece. That also comes from me watching damn near every Celtics game there is. And, being exposed to him and, kind of also watching him grow as, oh, my God, who is he? Number 3 pick from... Wow.
Cal.
16, ish, and kind of growing into now. I feel like his contract might actually be a little bit justified if he's on that upward trend.
It may end up being a steal if he ends up being an all defensive, all star kind of dude. But my most improved player, that was a great pick. There's so many guys you can go with here. I went with Devontae Graham because he's averaging 15 more points per game than he did last year, and he's second in threes made. That's amazing. I don't normally love picking second-year players because I'm okay, you're going to improve most likely anyway. But the jump that he's made is remarkable. A second-round guy. I had a first-round grade on him in 2017, or 2018. But he's extremely talented and just such a lethal offensive player and probably taking Terry Rozier's job at some point. But that's going to wrap up our midseason award picks. And, of course, we're always going to round out the Ball Don't Lie podcast with our All-NBA teams. This one is I love this one. It's a really good one. It's the All-NBA. I can't believe this guy was an all-star team. So, basically, me and Ryan each came up with 5 guys. Again, we don't know who we picked. We'll see if we have any overlap. 5 guys that we kind of were a guy that makes the all-star team, and then you look back from now and go I can't believe that guy how is he an all-star? So the name is literally what it says. So Ryan, who's the first guy that made your team?
Okay, I have to do a disclaimer here. I gone by the list of all-star players, and I went from bottom up, and I would just look at some stats and stuff like that. So a lot of old school players here. First player that I have, Doc Rivers.
Doc Rivers.
1988
Wow.
All-Star, 14.2 points, 9.3 assists. You don't see him as that type of all-star flashy kind of player. Those are some good stats, but
Good stats.
when you think
that
about
wouldn't make it in today's NBA.
Yeah, but then when you think about your that level of talent in the late 90s they have, especially in point guard position in the East as well. You think about players of course, Isaiah Thomas definitely stands out. They have some Doc Rivers, seriously?
I know, he's always known as... I think people kind of forget that he played in the NBA because, it was obviously a long time ago, but he had that one year where he was really good. But you said he was on the Hawks that year?
Yeah, and that's, I can't find, the half-season split, so that's, the whole season,
I have another Atlanta Hawk on my list. Is going to be Mr. Kyle Korver himself, who made almost 50% of his threes. Is that one year with the Hawks where they won 60 games, and he was a maybe another
I think it's 5, right? Yeah.
Yeah, player of the month. As long as that whole starting lineup, they had 4 All-Stars that year, and I think Kyle Korver that one year it was quite interesting that he was an All-Star. Even at the time, I was I guess.
I have Kyle Korver too.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that was an obvious one. I thought that's the ultimate.
I could substitute with him with someone else.
All right. I want to hear this.
Second one, I'm gonna say in backcourt Jameer Nelson.
I also had Jameer Nelson.
2009.
Yes.
He was really good. Of course, have that. I want to say ACL injury. He has a really bad injury that kept him actually out of the All-Star game. And the debate is that of course Jameer Nelson pretty mediocre player. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Plays well within that system, especially with the 4-out, 1-in with Dwight Howard.
Yep.
But then the
And they went to the finals.
bigger debate, like in the playoffs, is that he shouldn't have come back. Like he shouldn't have came back because I think the backup point guard is it River Alston? I want to say that year.
I don't even remember.
I'll look it
Look
up.
this up. Yeah, we don't want to give you any fallacies on this show.
I want to give it some fake news, but like the backup point guard has been playing really, really well. That like in the stint that he replaced Jameer Nelson, basically second half of the season, and they came back and kind of Van Gundy inserted him into the lineup, and the whole thing just did not work. Yeah, the backup point guard is Raver Alston. Skip to my loo, baby.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
And Jason Williams is also like played as a backup as well. So.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, that was when he was like still trying to be in the NBA, kind of not. But yeah. I also had Jameer Nelson. He averaged 19.3 points per game that season. Obviously, he's always been one of the best shooters. He just right place at the right time, and again, they rewarded winning, and he was playing really well. He's probably the best player on that team after Dwight. Maybe Rashard Lewis, you can argue, but yeah. So a player I also had on my list. I think he also made it that season, 09. Devin Harris.
Oh yeah.
For the New Jersey Nets, he averaged 21.3. He's been a career backup like his whole career, but there's just the 1 year where he was just really good.
He
and
has
made it.
flashes.
Yeah.
But like not like he usually has flashes in games, but instead of like first half of the season. But I mean, he's shown the talent before. If he wasn't hampered that badly by injuries,
yeah,
he could have had a better career.
True. That's true. All right, who else do you have on your list?
My other pick would be Lionel Hollins.
Yeah,
way back
yeah.
machine. He averaged 16 points, 3.4 rebounds, and 4.7 assists. And that's not all-star numbers for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, not today. Maybe back then when it wasn't as high as scoring. A guy who I had on my list was none other than Theo Ratliff, who was the defensive specialist on the those Philadelphia 76er teams led by none other than Allen Iverson.
Yeah.
So, yeah, his numbers weren't great. Honestly, I think it was like 14 points or something like that. But I guess they wanted to reward the Sixers. And, yeah, I mean, he always was a good role player. But I guess he got really rewarded for being a good role player
because
in that year.
Who else was on those teams, to be honest?
Like Old Dikembe, Eric Snow.
Eric Snow, yeah.
Yeah.
Aaron McKee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think Lou Will was on the team yet either. So
I'll kind of go with you on that pick, Charles Oakley.
Okay.
11.8 points, 11.8 rebounds. But the thing is that, like, he was, of course, like, he's a very respected player within NBA and the organization. But then he was not your flashy player. He was not your star player. He's always been that kind of, like, I didn't put him in, but, like, Anthony Mason-ish, like, on those Knicks years. He's a very, very good, like, just, dirty work player. And I'll see him, like, having the all-star label on him. He did make it, like, I think 1 year, like, 2 max. Like, my lists are, like, 2 max. So Oakley kind of surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, all right, yeah. My last guy on my list is Christian Laettner.
I saw that. I saw that name as I was scrolling, but like I remember he did have a few good years on bad teams, like toward the later part of the 90s.
Yeah, in 97 he was like officially ruled an all-star for the Atlanta Hawks. Yeah, he didn't really pan out like he did in college at Duke. It's okay because I am a Duke fan, but not gonna lie, I did not watch him play at Duke. I was not born.
Yeah.
So
on like my end of my list, I do have Wally Szczerbiak. He averaged like almost 19, so that's a probable pick.
Yeah.
And also Danny Ainge, who averaged 15.7 and 6.2 in his one All-Star appearance.
Yeah, I feel like the NFL, like, if this was like a Pro Bowl list, there's always like the Josh Norman year or something like that, where like one player has one insane year and then never makes it again. I feel like that's always more common. But the NBA, there's consistency, so I guess that's good. But anyway, that is gonna wrap it up here for the Ball Don't Lie podcast. Appreciate my brother Ryan here coming on, filling the shoes of David, if you will. But yeah, it's good.
That's some big shoes to fill.
It's not big. Yeah, David has like a size 8.5 foot. Not the biggest.
I have a 12. So.
But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up here. Thank you for tuning in, and be on the lookout as we head into All-Star season and things of that nature. So thanks for watching. Thanks for sniffing out the truth, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for watching our latest edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also follow us on Twitter at PSSNTV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.